Hello everybody again. So we'll start the session the last session of this morning with a presentation of Verkor. So I'm very glad to welcome Yannick Molmeret. So he's graduated from Grenoble INP. He's an innovation project manager at Verkor, and he will introduce to us Verkor and also the School of Lithium-ion Battery. So please welcome him.
Hello, thank you. So it's.
Sorry.
I don't think I'm at the.
The most important. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, thank you. So yes, my name is Yannick Molmeret. It's my pleasure today to be here with you to present to you Verkor as a company, and then how we try to solve a Gigafactory challenge in building an European ecosystem. So first, a small company presentation. So Verkor wants to be a low-carbon battery maker in the heart of Europe. The first plant we have planned is 16 gigawatt-hour per year of battery capacity located in Dunkirk in the north of France by 2025, and with a target to go up to 65 or plus gigawatt-hour per year battery capacity production in less than 10 years. We have high-performance batteries developed in our innovation center that is located in Grenoble. We have best level carbon footprint target in Europe. We have partnerships with industrial across all the value chain of battery making. We are endorsed by automakers because we have already a deal with Renault. And of course, we have an exceptional team of industry leaders and international battery experts. So if we look back at the past, so Verkor was founded in July 2020. It raised 10 million, then 80 through the years. In February 2022, Dunkirk was selected for the first Gigafactory. And our VIC Innovation Center, that is located in Grenoble, was built in the meantime and was inaugurated in June 23, so 3 months ago. We signed some commercial agreements with Renault last year, so they will build 3/4 of our first two-line production on a long-term supply agreement. We launched the Gigafactory buildings just in March or April. The production start will be at the end of 2024. In 2025, we'll launch a second Gigafactory site. I don't know if it will be in Dunkirk or not. And the commercial production will start in 2025 for the Dunkirk Gigafactory. So as I was saying, we have a very big team with lots of people coming from all the battery value chain, automotive industry, electronics industry, so Panasonic, Samsung, Tesla, Audi, and so on. We have more than 330 full-time employees now. So we reached this number after 3 years, less than 3 years after the creation of the company. We have more than 1,000 years of cumulative battery experience and more than 40 nationalities in the VIC Innovation Center in Grenoble. So the VIC Innovation Center, Verkor Innovation Center, the VIC, located just across the train line. It's already a production facility with 150 megawatt-hour per year of production capacity. It's where we design and validate the chemistries and the products. We also have lots of innovation of manufacturing processes and on the digitalization of these processes. We are, and I will speak about it a bit more later, we have a training program for more than 1,500 employees. We are putting it in place, and we are able in this pilot plant to develop and product some cells that meet automotive quality standards. There is in this VIC both a pilot line and R&D lab. The pilot line allows to work on the process design and validation, on the digital architecture implementation. We are also able to do some trials on recycling production scraps. And our first step with this VIC is to achieve the best-in-class production yield to gain a competitive edge. And then in the research and development lab, so it's supporting the product design and validation. We are able to produce state-of-the-art NMC batteries. We can also test innovative formats of battery design. So today we are doing some pouch batteries, but we are also working on cylindrical cells. Also we start to work on new chemistries. And we optimized our first cell design based on our customer requirement for automotive application. Then the plant in Dunkirk, so this will be the plant in 25. Today it's the work started 3 months ago. So the initial capacity is 16 gigawatt-hour per year. So that's roughly 300,000 vehicles per year. There will be 1,200 direct jobs created and probably around 3,000 indirect jobs for the first tranche of the Gigafactory, so the first 2 lines. So our goal is to build the most efficient Gigafactory in the world, best-in-class digital backbone. Thanks to France's decarbonized energy mix, we want to have the lowest carbon footprint for battery cells. And we chose Dunkirk because it's at the core of the European battery manufacturing ecosystem. We have the port, the harbor, we have fatal heat network on the location. We have lots of clean electricity. So that's why also we chose this location. So as I was saying, for the electricity needs, so being in France, we have a very low carbon intensity electricity if we look at the numbers from the last year. So produced or consumed, it's roughly around 45 grams of CO2 per kilowatt-hour. On the processes, we want to introduce what's called Industry 5.0 design. That is an elaboration of Industry 4.0, so automated, intelligent, but also taking human into account. So more interaction, a little bit less automatization because it doesn't work that much when everything is automated. We also are designing BIMS, Battery Intelligent Management System, where the processes are digitized and they are also piloted at some extent by an algorithmic logic. So the idea is to improve the yield, decrease the scraps, lower the energy intensity of each process. So the Gigafactory will be kind of a high efficiency Gigafactory. Our product line so far, so we are building large pouch cells. So these ones, we are starting to develop some modules. So the first generation has a balance between power and energy, and there will be a second generation with high energy. A second one with high durability and fast charge for heavy duty. And we are also looking at cylindrical cells. We didn't fix yet the format, will it be small or large, but we are also working on cylindrical cells. So in summary, Verkor, so what makes Verkor, it's a high-performance batteries player in Europe. We are leading the targets on carbon footprint. We are leading on digitalization of the processes for every manufacturing step. We focus on multiple market segments, automotive, but also heavy duty, and we are looking also at stationary electricity, stationary storage. And we are also committed on the safety of the supply chain and the impact, social, environmental impact of the supply chain. So the second part of the presentation is on the building of European ecosystem through Battery School. So Verkor is coordinating a project called École de la Batterie, so in French, Battery School in English. There are 16 partners involved, so Verkor, obviously, universities such as Grenoble INP, Lyon Industrie, ESAM. There's the CEA, there's AFPA, which is a formation agency in France, Coris for modelization and simulation tools, Arts et Métiers, lots of people, and we are supported by the government. The idea is to be able to train 1,600 people each year by 2026 at all levels of production needs, from young students to PhD to adults looking for reconversion, looking for a job. So it's the first École de la Batterie is in Grenoble. Then we also are part of Electromob, another project which is located in north of France, near Dunkirk. So in Grenoble, we'll focus on technicians, engineers, and researchers. In north of France, we'll focus on operators and technicians, because we'll need to, when the Gigafactory is ready, actually in 2025, it will need 1,200 people to work in. But today, they cannot train being an operator in a Gigafactory because there's no Gigafactory working in the north of France. So we need to train them now, so they are ready to work in 1 year and a half. And there's a new project coming up called Batena that is also focusing on automotive services, electric automotive services, and vehicle recycling. And it's in creation, and it will be probably located near Bordeaux. So depending on the actors and the, let's say, level of people that have to be trained, different partners will be taking some roles. So for operators, AFPA is the main, it's the formation center. So it's ESAM, Verkor, Coris. Technicians, it will be with Grenoble INP, ESAM, Verkor, and so on. And we can go up to researchers. We also have job seekers who can be trained. So the idea is really to train and to educate people around the battery industry and to around the battery jobs that they can find in the future. So there are 4 main drivers to École de la Batterie. So we need first to map the value chain, what is needed from companies, what is the lack on the training side. We need to train the trainees, obviously. We probably need to create specific trainings for batteries for each levels, from students to PhD and adults. And also we need to attract talents to work on the battery industry. So on the milestones of this project, so the first cartography and the project started in 22 was done in December 22. We had a first training group of operators and operatrices in March. The AFPA launched the training platform in June, and we plan to do more stuff before the end of the year. Training on EV. Coris will deliver a first simulation tool to work on battery cell manufacturing. We will launch some PhDs. We'll have also a board game developed by Verkor to go to high schools. We tested it in Dunkirk last year, last week, to show to high schoolers and see how they react. How do you need to, what is needed to build a gigafactory? You need some operators, some procurement, some sales, and so on, some recycling too. So yes, on École de la Batterie, it's the value chain, and it's it's building the ecosystem around people. And then the last part, building a European ecosystem through innovation projects, such as the 4 projects that were presented today and yesterday. So in Verkor, we are in an ecosystem. We have some groups, industrial groups, that are shareholders. So with them, we are also cooperating on their expertise area. So on all the value chain, from raw material procurement and recycling, on active materials, on processes, on modules, and on application. And so we have cooperation on all of these fields. And also with academic consortiums, such as Horizon Europe projects, and also French-funded projects. So we have projects on recycling and active materials on French side. We have a project on module with Saint-Gobain. We are looking for a new project on mobility solutions with Plastic Omnium. And then on Horizon Europe, so Gigabat started in July on the processes. We have Batwin that will start on digital twin in, let's say, January. Same for Vitalize on recycling. We have a new project also coming up on high-performance eco-design batteries. We filed some proposals for the last September calls on Generation 3 and Generation 4 projects. And of course, we are looking at next year's project. We are looking for consortium and partners to write some proposals for these upcoming calls. So thank you for your attention. I listed a few contacts. So Verkor in general should be contact@verkor.com. On the battery school itself, it's my colleague Emily who is the contact person. And for the collaborative innovation project, it happens to be me. So if you want to build a consortium or write a proposal and you need some battery manufacturing partner, I will be happy to answer to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any question to Yannick?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I had a question related to the Industry 5.0 production process that is envisioned here. To what extent is this a model or a framework which you can just copy-paste and rapidly scale up battery production in Europe? Is this the goal of this approach?
Well, Industry 5.0, let's say, exists on some industries. For example, medicine production, it already exists. At some extent on microelectronics also. So the idea is to, obviously, to transfer what is transferable to the battery production processes, and then to adapt what is not doable. So we are partnering with Schneider and Capgemini mostly. We are doing also lots of internal developments. But yes, the idea is not to do it all by ourselves. It would take too long. And yes, the idea is really to rely on our partner or shareholders to implement this in the Gigafactory.
And how labor intensive would these type of gigafactories still be? Would this be mainly technicians that keep the production line running, or are there still other players within this factory context?
So in the Gigafactory, so the biggest workforce at the operator levels. And then, so you have operators, something like 5 or 7 operators for 1 technician, and then a manager for 5 or 6 technicians, and then of course you have all the support services. You have logistic procurements and so on. So I mean, let's say on 1,200 people, you have between 700 and 800 operators, 150 technicians, 100 engineers, and then it's support.
And would that be impacted then by the automation, or?
So actually. I think it was in Tesla. They tried to automatize, let's say, everything, and they found out it was not that efficient, because every time you have a small error or anything happening, the machines are a little bit difficult to adapt compared to a human operator. So at some extent, you need some human operators. Being in Europe, Western Europe, with work cost being European cost, you need to find the right balance between how many people are working there, because it's a cost. But if you remove them all, then you will have costs on the automation of the machines, on the downtime. So it's a balance. And we think that with the automation, with the automatic decision systems that we put in place for, let's say, when everything is working right, we can just have a sufficient number and being competitive.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting talk. And in one slide you mentioned that you are involved in European projects, proposals on solid state batteries. And since this event about like solid state, so what your, were core opinions on solid state in general? So do you see it for gigascale? When?
Yeah, so
anywhere.
It's definitely something we are looking at. On the time frame, I don't know how to answer precisely. I think it will be around 2030, maybe plus minus 2-3 years, but we don't see it coming gigafactory scale sooner than that. They are already, today we are producing some generation 3 cells. The first 2 lines will be generation 3. We are improving on them. Maybe there will be some 3B at some point, but full solid-state batteries, yes, it will be probably first a mix, like the Prologium batteries that are building a factory in Dunkirk. We don't know exactly what's inside because they don't want us to open the batteries, but it's probably a mix between ceramic and polymer. It's not fully ceramic batteries, it's not fully polymer batteries. So yes, it will happen because there are lots of developments everywhere. But then the processes will have to adapt. So it will happen in a few years, that's for sure.
Can you share more information about the battery materials you will use, the type of chemistries?
So today it's nickel-rich, so NMC chemistry with graphite on the anode side. So it's a generation 3 NMC battery cell, yes.
And then can you share the roadmap for the new materials?
So no, we don't share the roadmap for the new materials, but yeah, we'll improve on the voltage. We'll improve. We'll probably put some silicium at one point on the anode. So let's say yeah, it's pretty for now in generation 3 pretty standard roadmap. And then of course we are looking at new materials, new chemistries, but I cannot disclose. Sorry.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I have a very general question regarding the cells being produced in Europe and the competition with the cells in Asia, because they are already very advanced. And my assumption is that the cells being produced in Europe would have less maturity and higher cost. So in long term, what is your strategy to compete with these cells coming from China?
So actually, there are two ways to answer. Say market point of view and technological point of view. So on a market point of view, the projections for Europe battery demand in 2035 it will be 1.5 terawatt-hour per year of battery demand, and let's say 40 gigafactories announced in Europe until now, and with their development plans until 2035, the European gigafactories will be able to supply 1/3, 500 gigawatt-hour of battery capacity. So we'll still need to import 1 terawatt-hour of battery capacity per year. The thing is that the Asian market will also grow, the US market will also grow. So at one point, the Asian manufacturers won't be able to serve their domestic markets and European markets. So our opinion is that there will be some space for everyone. Of course, if you want to buy a cheap battery, you will probably turn to an Asian supplier. But depending on the applications, and we see it today with automotive makers, when they want to have some performance or more control of what's happening inside the battery, they can turn also to European batteries. We have also very strong cost targets, very low actually. So at one point we will be maybe not the cheapest one, but will be competitive. Will be in the same average sell price. So of course, when you have today at the sell price is a bit lower than $100 per kilowattheure. I mean, it's an average. There are some sales it's 120, some of them it's 90, but there are people buying all of them. So it will be the same but lower.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there more question?
Yes, hello. So just one question about the chemistry. I don't know if you can answer or not. What do you think about the LFP chemistry?
So it's interesting. So today we chose NMC because of the specifications of Renault for the battery they wanted to buy. We are looking at LFP. At some point, LFP might be let's say, beaten by sodium-ion batteries because of availability of sodium, because of the price that it will allow to reach. So, I mean, from a pure product point of view, and even on price, some of my colleagues' opinion is that we should probably turn to sodium-ion instead of LFP.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have one question concerning the targets in terms of yield and scrap rate. What does it mean to be the best in class in terms of numbers? And
so for the carbon footprint, the target is actually, I think I had an additional slide, so it's 30 kilograms of CO2 equivalent per kilowattheure. So today the industry average is a little bit above 100, so let's say 100. So the 70% decrease, we build it on 4 assumptions. So we optimize the process. We have some 10% gains. We produce in France with clean electricity or low carbon electricity. So it's the biggest win there with 35 kilograms CO2 per kilowattheure. And also, as I said, in Dunkirk, there's a waste heat network because there's steelworks and other industries like this. So for the dry rooms, we don't need to rely fully on our own heating systems. The heat is already there. We also want to play a lot on the value chain. We are signing some partnerships with local players and also some on players that want to lower their carbon footprint. And also we want to improve on the recycling. So reduce the scraps, but also recycle the scraps. So in the end, the idea is to have in Dunkirk, near Dunkirk, a recycling facility, either a joint venture or a partner, to be able to recycle our scraps and to give us back the active materials. So all this to go down to 30. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the second half of the question.
No, very interesting. And in which time frame?
So the target is for 2035, 10 years. And of course, in the industry, we also have some targets, probably between 30 and 50. I mean, the industry won't stay at 107 for 10 years, of course.
So if there's no more question, we can thanks again Yannick Molmeret. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It was a great pleasure to have you and learn more about Verkor. So now we will close this morning session. I would like just to remind you, we have a document to sign at the end at the registration desk. It's very important for Europe, as you all know. And thank you to everyone. Thank you for people online. And you can have lunch in the room next. And this afternoon we will come back at 1:30 to present the industrial session. Let me share the agenda. It's not. Yes. So this afternoon we will welcome ICL, Arkema, ABB, Sphere Energy, and Basquebolt. And we will have again a panel discussion with all of them. Thank you.